What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night.
Hey, hey.
And Dan is with us for a change. So how's everybody's week going? What do we need to say off the top here? Feeling good on a Wednesday. Yeah. Who's Dan? Dan is our fearless leader, also known as our president and the master designer of all circuits Revv.
Hey.
So he is the one that creates everything that you guys like. All I do is try to find a way to make sure you guys know about it and then hopefully buy it. So yeah.
There you go. That's who I am.
Yeah. A couple things right off the top. Number one, how's everybody doing? What are you drinking? I got the good old Stiegl Radler, as per usual. I got the lemon one tonight because I had the grapefruit one at supper. So
Yeah.
cheers, buddy.
There you go. Right on, dude.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I got the little brown jug today, the black lager. It's good, man.
Nice.
I dig it. Yeah, I like it.
So, Captain Morgan Spice, nice.
Ooh, the good
A&W root beer. Anthony, I hope you're doing well. I just saw that Anthony's got COVID, so he's quarantining
dude.
at home. So
Sorry to hear that.
nice. Sean's got some Kentucky bourbon ale. Ronnie, what's going on? Rippin' Ronnie,
Yeah, good to see you, Ronnie.
the best
Hey.
shredder in Winnipeg.
Ken, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
I guess I was okay, but all right. And
got
thank you, Anthony,
Dave
for the
Hogan
birthday
here, yeah.
wishes. It's good. It's good. Appreciate it, buddy. Sorry to hear you got COVID. It sucks. Hope you get well, man.
So we were trying to think of something fun that we could do this week. And first of all, have you guys all checked out the 12 Days of Christmas stuff? Did you see the stupid little video that Luke and I shot this week? We got lots of prizes coming up, and we're going to be doing live stream on the 28th, announcing the winners. So yeah, make sure you get on there and
Yeah, definitely, guys. Get in
share that stuff, and you know.
Yeah, get in on
Yeah,
that.
exactly. What's up, Andy? You milk bags. Ed, how's it going? For anybody who won pedals last week, I'm sorry. I kind of, I didn't get around to getting everything sorted until like last night. And I emailed somebody this morning because I realized you guys hadn't sent addresses. So all your pedals, I think, went out today. If not, they're going out tomorrow morning with DHL. So
There you go.
I blame Manny and the fact that Manny's not here, because normally he'd be like, hey, man, who are we sending the pedals to? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, let me get you that. So what's up, Cliff?
Hey, Cliff.
Yeah, so make sure you guys sign up, tell your friends, share the posts, all that kind of stuff. It helps us out a lot. What are the other housekeeping things that we need to talk about? If you're not part of the Revv Amplification community on Facebook, get on over there, get signed up into there. Dan will talk to you. He'll read you bedtime stories, all sorts of fun things.
There you go.
If you're in there, he'll tell you all about circuits and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put you to sleep for sure.
yeah.
It's all good.
Ken, yeah. Oh man, no, you shouldn't have stayed home and not gone to
No.
Mexico.
Yeah. If I could do this from Mexico right now, that's where I'd be.
Yes, and of course, smash that like button for us.
Yeah.
Let's get some more peeps in here and let's make the algorithm do some work for us.
Yeah. Smash a like. Do the subscribe thing.
Nice. Antonio's mom shared the post and it's her 80th birthday. Nice. Your mom's birthday's on Christmas? Dude, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we're going to get to all of that.
Yeah, it's coming.
So what we thought would be fun to do tonight is, it's been a long time since we've done anything that wasn't like, some sort of interview,
Yeah.
normally for magazines or something, where we talk about like
Yeah.
how you started, how we met, and, a lot of people have asked the differences between like, what's the difference between the Mark I generator, the Mark II, like the 120, and the Mark II and the Mark III, and all that kind of stuff. So we thought, what would be fun is we set the wall up today to be.
We got them all.
The center is like the wall of Revv. Yeah, we have almost everything. Like, we didn't bother with like Mark III 100P 100R because the red and the purple channels on a 120 are identical to the ones on a 100R.
That's right.
And the previous amps, the power section was slightly different, right?
Not by much, though.
Yeah, but that was the main difference between Mark II 120 purple channel and Mark II 100P.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly that.
now they are the same. So if say you have a 120 but your buddy has a 100P and they sound different, I mean, what do you think that is? Like component tolerance, tubes?
Yeah, tubes for sure. I mean, different brands. If you're running something different than your buddy, I mean, you're gonna have different sound. Yeah, component differences.
Yeah.
Sometimes minor, but sometimes not. It all depends how it's drifted while it's in the circuit too. So yeah, lots of changes could happen over time. But for the most part, they should be pretty close enough where it's not different. It's or not bad. It's just different, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, I've just had a few people say like, well, you know, like I've got a Mark III. I've had a few dealers to say like, well, we've got a Mark III 100P here, and we've got the 120, but I like the 100P a little more. And I'm like, they're not different. I'm like, so
yeah.
I'm like, I get it, but I'm like, it must just be, you know, it can be as simple as like somebody didn't put the knob on absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
And that what you think is.
Yeah, it's just louder.
Yeah.
Perception is everything there. I mean, it'll be a little bit brighter too. You turn it up, things change, right?
So so let's go back, and for anybody who's wondering, like the that is my Mark II generator 120 on the purple channel, which is a special beast that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I saw somebody said like G3 goodness. Just so you know, I'm not running any pedals right now. I might turn on like, I don't know, the reverb or the delay at some point. And we'll talk about the pedals, so we'll show those. But like right now, it's just about amps, and we're gonna kind of go through some things. So why don't you talk to us about what got you started?
Oh boy. Okay, well, yeah, that's tricky because.
Oh, I heard that.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where to start here? So, okay, so yeah, I was a millwright and sort of into robotics before I got started into this, and so electronics sort of became a pretty big interest for me, and then I had hurt my back and was out of the game for a while. As a result of that, I was bored, right? So, being a musician, and a person that just can't stay still, I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll start tinkering with amp circuits and just to pass time, right? Find something to do. It's electronics, it's music, it's perfect. So I did that and came up with a circuit that I really liked. Never really planned to get into business with it or anything. Just thought, oh, it's just something to do and pass the time. Really enjoyed what I did though, and the tones I got were awesome. I was really happy with them. Started to have people try them out, and it started to sort of get a reaction that was pretty promising, and people started saying, why don't you start selling a few of these or something? Like, I'd buy one. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Not that I had never thought of it, but it's a tube amp, right? There's lots of them, and it's like, why would I get into this? But just the reception that I got was pretty cool, and so I thought, well, okay, maybe put a few together for some friends or whatever, sell them a few and do that. And then at some point, I just came down to, just wanting to maybe see how far I could go with it. But ultimately it started for me just tinkering around, just trying to pass time, and I was pretty passionate about it, right? So it wasn't me trying to copy somebody, try to do something different. It was all about doing something different, just going back to the beginning. And I started this what I called the Tube Lab, and I started to build modules. So I had this module that was one preamp tube and a different number of methods that I could connect different components to it. And on a big table, I laid out like the main board. It was noisy as all get out because all I had was just wires everywhere. So I was picking up interference like crazy. But at the same time, it was the best way to quickly change components and try out different sounds, eh? And so that worked out pretty good. And so I started right from bare bones, just tinkering with different circuits, putting tubes in different places, blending them, running them in parallel, doing one real dark and doing one real bright, putting that together to see how it sounded. And I had a blast doing it. I'd blow my eardrums out, nightly, and it was really cool. But that was basically where the start for me was. It was just in trying to explore different sounds and just trying to think outside of the box, doing things that I knew had never really been done before, or if they weren't a commercial product in that sense, right?
Yep.
But for me, it was all about just starting just without a schematic in front of me and just checking out tones.
Yeah, and that was back in like 2012.
Yeah, it was 2012. Yeah, around then. That's when I think I hurt my back, and then I was out of the game for a while. And yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was
because
2012.
we met in like, I think it was either like tail end of November 2013 or early December. I don't remember. Facebook says we became friends in, I think,
Yeah.
like either late November, early December.
Yeah.
And
in 2013.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we met because I own a screen printing company, and you were looking for somebody to screen print faceplates for chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting, you had somebody that you knew, I always forget his name, Joel.
Joel.
Yeah. So you knew this dude named Joel who
Yeah.
used to work at a company that my general manager at my company, he had worked for him, and Joel contacted Gino from my company, and then Gino comes and tosses me this piece of paper, which is an email, I assume from you or from Joel, but with your info saying,
Yeah.
this guy's looking for, you know, this guy's looking for somewhere to print faceplates for a guitar amplifier, and Gino knew I was into guitars and amps, and he's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think this job is going to be worth us doing, but you probably want to take a look at it because you're a guitar player. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like,
Yeah.
Sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's how we kind of met. So we got some questions out here.
Yeah,
so like,
I see a lot
yeah.
there, so I don't really want to miss any here. So my favorite circuit in the whole Revv catalog right now would be, and I know we've already introduced the amp, so I'll just let out the cat out of the bag, is the G50. That one right now is probably my favorite just because it's a combination of different sounds that I've sort of collected, I guess you could say, over the years, different circuits I've collected. And so I've kind of thrown it all in the bag and done it that way. I really dug the MK3 initially, and I still do. It's a great amp, but the 50 is just a new flavor. In the
Are you
game.
more like, your sound is more the purple
The
channel
purple
from
channel.
the generator though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the purple channel. It's just tight. I don't mind a loose low end, it's fine. But just a real tight bass with high gain, that's it for me. And Sean asked what power tubes I was using when developing those circuits. So back then it was basically KT88s and 6L6s in parallel. I did start with just KT88s, thinking I'd just get a really monstrous sound, but the truth be told is that I was lacking top end out of those tubes. And at the time when you're trying to put a circuit together and you're not really hearing the top end like you think you should, and I went through so many different circuits thinking, what the heck is wrong with this thing? And it turned out the KT88s were sucking my top end. So at some point I'd realized that and started putting 6L6s in the mix. And eventually I think at one point I went strictly to 6Ls just to get a different flavor and just see what that sounded like. And eventually, I mean, that's why I said before, like even with the power tube stream we did, my favorites are KT88s with the 6L6s as a combo or pairs. Those are probably my favorites. The types of tones I was going after was high gain stuff. So I was metalhead, you know. Can't say I was a great guitarist, but
Can I out you for being like,
giver.
Dan is like an unbelievable metal singer.
Well, I
and
wouldn't go that far.
No. So you were like the most, out of our entire crew, I don't know if there's anybody who is quieter and more introverted when they come into the shop than you.
Yeah,
Like,
fair enough.
you come and talk to me, and you'll say hi to people, but for the most part, you're pretty quiet, and you go to your desk, and actually most days I have to go and be like, oh, his truck's here, I'm gonna go talk to Dan. And one day somebody was like, have you seen Dan's like band on YouTube? So all of you go search Tinnitus Band Winnipeg, and you will hear Dan screaming in a metal band, and it is unbelievable. And I was like, there's no way that that's Dan. And then I looked at it and I'm like, that's Dan. So
Yeah,
yes.
guilty as charged.
Yeah.
I think I'm quietest in the shop.
I don't know if you're quieter than he is. You get in trouble for talking too
Yeah,
much.
I'm
so
just
you're
kidding.
not.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're out. You don't get the award for this one this year.
So you scroll back up because there's a couple comments I want to address too while we're going here.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to Derek Clausen's comment there, Tommy Beale's asking, are there combo amps coming? I think Can you move? I can't
Smooth
read
that down just a
Stokes.
little bit.
Yeah. So yes, I do have a question for all of you that are watching. How many of you guys are interested in high gain combo amps? I've never been a fan of high gain combos. I've
Right.
always only wanted like, low to mid gain. I've got a bunch of Fender combos. I have a Marshall JMP combo. Not a fan compared to the head.
Yeah, yeah.
High gain amps to me are always head and cabinet. But I'm really curious what you guys have to say. So drop the comment for us about what you think, because I know like Mesa's got like Mark V
Yeah.
25s and Mark V combos, and the new there's Badlanders and stuff like that. I'm curious what you guys think. But Stobes, go just back up a bit. There was another. Okay, so Derek Lawson says, you say you made a circuit. What makes one amp or circuit different from another amp? Or sorry, another and create a unique tone?
Oh man, that's everything. Everything can. So for me, when I came out with the generator circuit, or when I was happy with the generator circuit, and it depended on the day. There's a number of different things, right? The way the tubes are cascaded, the filters between them, the power section, man, everything is a variable. You change one component and you could make a radical difference. So when it comes to amp circuits, yeah, there's a lot to work with. And I mean, once you get down to getting past the math and what looks good on paper, then it just comes down to trying things out in the physical realm and just finding what works. Because I've spent tons of time doing the math only to be disappointed when you put the circuit together. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like I thought it would. And so until you actually get down into the nitty gritty of it.
It's funny how that is in so many things in life, but I find that in business a lot. The things that on paper to me always look like slam dunks, like this is gonna work, and it doesn't matter what industry it's in that I've been in. Like when you've got everything formulated and you're like, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And when you've got stuff that you're like, I don't know if this is gonna do anything, but away we go. Those end up being the things that
that stick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny the way that works. Because I mean, I was confident in a lot of circuits that I'd drawn up on some of these programs or whatever. And you get to the drawing board and it's like, or you get past the drawing board into the physical realm, like I say, and it's like, no, that's not even what it's supposed to be. Like, it's not even close. Yeah. Until you actually get to tweaking, you don't know what you're gonna end up with. So,
I don't know if your name is Ilmaris or what it is. So I'm sorry that I'm gonna say it wrong. But what is your favorite speaker / cab?
Okay, yeah. So I was a big Mesa fan when it came to cabs for sure. The V30s are my thing. But lately, man, I've been digging our stuff. We've spent a great deal of time tweaking our cabs and testing speakers and finding out what works. And so I'm leaning more towards our stuff at this point in time, just because they've got a nice round or tight low end depending what you need, and the depth of the cabs too. You can tell that the low end it's got just a good depth. And so right now I'm digging our stuff, but I mean when you put a Mesa cab in parallel with our stuff, you just get great tones. So.
Yeah, you voice almost all of the amps like that, don't you?
I do, yeah. I use V30s primarily. I used to try using different speakers. Like I had some T75s. I found them way too bright though, just too ice picky. So I moved away from them just because I'd get a good sound, but then I'd move to V30 and it was too dark. So I thought, you know what, let's just stick with what people are into right now. And that was primarily V30s and things like that. I tried out some Eminent stuff like Governors and what are the other ones? The Texas Heat, I think they're called. Those are pretty cool, but nothing's like a V30.
So I'm gonna steal a little bit from Sean here, because I agree with Sean's theory on this, and that is that he thinks that a combination of either a V30 and a creamback together, or a creamback in the room sounds best. But on the mics, the V30 wins.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. Because the mics are so much different from your in-room, right?
Yep.
When it comes to in-room, the V30s do lack in certain areas, which can be good or bad depending on the room even. And so adding that creamback, and we've proven that, right? We've been really happy with the tones we've found through the combinations. But yeah, on the mics, V30s, it's hard to beat. Like we've done a ton of recordings. The V30 is always the winner, eh?
Yeah.
It's always a champ.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. Love the EVH combo. I really like the old 5150 combo, but man, they're so heavy. That was the problem with our
Yeah.
Dynamis combo, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
were you trying to recreate / pay tribute to sounds you heard and loved, or trying to create what you felt was missing?
So I guess a little bit of both. I did have a certain sound in my head that I was after, and so, like playing Mesa amps for years, Marshall stuff. I had, the JCM 800 that didn't quite have enough gain, and then I'd move into like a 2x12 solid state thing I think that I bought, and it was a Marshall as well. And I thought, oh, this sounds good, but only for a minute, right? And a month later, I'm like, man, this sounds so stale and sterile. I don't want this anymore. I go back to tubes, and then you hit the Mesa combo or the Mesa tube heads. It's like, there it is again, but then the tightness thing isn't quite there, and now I'm messing with boosts and everything else. So I thought, you know what? It was close to what I wanted, but it wasn't quite there. And so when it came to the generator circuit, it was also a little bit about not even really knowing what I wanted, right? Like I kind of knew that these things just weren't it, or they were close, but they just didn't have everything. And so until I really started messing with circuits and finding out what it was I was interested in, which was like a tighter low end and maybe a bit more aggression, maybe different mid characteristics too. Then I started to discover that. But going in, I really just was doing it just because I had time to kill and I needed to keep my brain busy. But ultimately, yeah, it was just tightness, a certain mid characteristic that the purple channel has.
Yep.
And just being very variable, having the ability to change my mid frequencies like you can with the cut switch on the MK3s or brighten it up, and doing it from a control under your feet too, right? Like it was all about automation too, just because I'd come from a robotics realm. Like at the time when I started doing this full time, I was also working on a robot cell, and Ken knows, because actually Ken and I worked together, and we built this machine that we had designed, and I did a ton of design work there. And so automation was also big to me.
Yeah.
MIDI control and just taking tube amps into the direction of having more functionality that was available with what we had, like microcontrollers and stuff. So
Nice.
yeah, that was big.
Two questions here. First one, old Acadian is asking, is it worth carrying 2 combo amps for stereo sound? It is worth having 2 amps running stereo at every point, anywhere you ever play, if you can, because it is pretty much always better. So, I mean, I'd do it.
Especially if you have effects that are stereo, or you need a wet and a dry sound that you can blend the two. Like, it's hard to.
And then Sean's asking there, was there a vintage amp that inspired you back in the day?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I had before I even started really getting into the business side of things, I was doing repairs too. And so this older gentleman I knew back in the day, actually I went to church with him for quite a number of years. He had some old amps, like oh darn, I can't remember the names though, but just some real old Fenders. There was one in particular, for the time being, the name's escaping me, but just really old circuits. And so we're talking things like oil filled capacitors and stuff like that. Really cool tones. Like if you want feel, it was in some of these old circuits because they didn't really respond quick, right?
Right.
And so they were lagging behind so much from what you were playing, you could feel that, and it had this compression that was just incredibly natural too. Electro, oh darn, it'll come back to me. But yeah, there definitely were, Sean. And next time we're together, hopefully the names come back to me. But they weren't my primary go-to though, right? Because being a metal guy, you're not going to get the tightness from those things. They had too much bass, which was also part of the magic. But yeah, there was definitely some older amps from the 60s, things that even had the old tubes that were 40s, 50s still in the amps, and man, they're over 40 years old and they're still kicking. It was incredible.
Like Dorian Soldano that was like biased as cold as possible.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's still NOS tubes.
Things are practically brand new.
Yeah. Sorry, Imaris. Yeah, I did see your email. I just haven't had time to deal with it yet. But yeah, he's maybe got a contact for us for Baltic Perch, which is pretty great. 'Cause
that's
he's in the
awesome.
Baltics, so
Okay.
give me a little
Fantastic.
bit. We're trying to prep for next week is our like Christmas week here, so we've got pretty much all of our team except for Kyle's not going to make it up here, but everybody else from our team is flying in from wherever they are, and
That'd be awesome.
we'll be here for the better part of the week, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking
So-
forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Thoughts? Sean wants to know thoughts on tube versus solid state
Ooh.
rectifiers.
Yeah. Well, both have their place, right? I mean, with the solid state rectifier, you're really going to get more of a feel with them. It's not so sterile, right? Solid state rectifiers or your diodes, they respond so quickly. There's no linear. They're completely linear, sorry. And so that kind of thing is better for like a real tight low end with when you want a really fast sound that responds really quickly. But with a tube rectifier, yeah, your sound completely changes. Now it's all about the feel. Kind of gives you a more squishy tone, and you notice it too, like on the mesas, when you can switch between solid and tube rectifier. Like it's night and day difference. I still prefer solid state just because, I mean, let's face it, right? It's a great sound, the tube rectifier, but it's another tube to deal with, and
It adds way more expense to
Yeah.
and way more hassle at getting.
absolutely. And you know what? If we ever do an amplifier that really requires a squish kind of feel or sound, okay, maybe I'll consider it. But when you're talking about a Revv generator, no, it's solid state all the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch. All of our amps are solid state rectifier.
Yeah. And so, not to say I won't ever use one in the future, but I mean, to add the extra expense, even to the end customer, the generator is just not that platform, and so I steered away from that. But we'll see what happens in the future. I like to experiment with stuff, and like I say, for the right application, I'd probably consider trying one out and see what it does. Just haven't got there yet.
I'd also like to know, like, you guys, thanks for like smashing that like button and everything for us tonight and getting lots of people in here. Give us drop us a comment here and let us know where you guys are all watching from in the world. It'd be it'd be great to know. So there's a question there from Flux. Dan, have you ever tried V30s mixed with G12K100s?
I have not. I haven't even tried the G12K100s, to be honest with you. I heard they're massive sounding and that they have their place for sure. And I mean, yeah, you know what? There's so many new speakers on the market too that I need to maybe start getting my hands on. And you and I sort of need to go back to the old days of just sitting down, drinking a beer, and trying cabs with speakers.
Yep.
Because I mean, yeah, there's some good ones out there.
Okay, Dave, given a wall of guitars to choose from, what would you reach for first?
Ooh, okay, yeah. You know what? I've been kind of digging some of the newer high quality Schecter guitars.
Yeah.
I like necks that aren't baseball bats and that are very fluid and fast, where your action is set up real nice. It's within spec. It feels good. I mean, I still like to play something like this, or even a baseball. It just depends on
This doesn't have a
the
baseball
action.
bat neck.
I mean,
just never let you
that's
play
more
it.
like a D, right? That's a pretty quick neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's comfortable. Yeah. I
This
like
is
that.
the like highest end Schecter that we have.
Yeah. See,
This
this is nice, but this is almost a mix between your Strat and maybe something with a quick neck, right? So
Yeah, it's not a wizard, like it's not an Ibanez neck.
yeah.
This is my number one. I mean, it's just the guitar. Like even tonight, like a lot of stuff we haven't dialed in tones on the amp. So we're gonna play a little bit of everything, but we haven't dialed everything in because
Yeah.
I also find that I've never had our amps sound better than when you dial them for me when we're at shows. Like whenever we go to a show, almost if the two of us are there together, it's almost always as soon as I set it up, I come and get you and I'm like, hey man, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go dial tones and you'll get me to play.
Yeah.
And that started like all the way back at the Dallas Guitar Show in like 2015
Oh yeah.
or 2016.
Wowzers.
So Daniel says, was it difficult or frightening to start your own company? How did you take the leap to start a business like Revv?
Oh man, yeah, it was. It was pretty nerve-wracking. I have a young family, or had a young family at the time. My kids are getting older, obviously, and so to make a leap like that, yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. I have to be honest though, I'm a Christian, and so my faith in God really held me through. and carried me through a lot of those times. And so because of that, I was more willing to take some risks. Just because when I started getting into this game as well, I could see God's hand moving in this entire thing. And so the fact that, like Derek had mentioned, I had a buddy that connected us.
Yeah.
I could see God's hand at work in all of that, leading me into the directions I needed to go. And so when I seen all this sort of transpiring before me and my path was essentially created for me, I just walked it. And I was more willing to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. And not to say I didn't lose a few nights of sleep, but
No.
but that was one of my motivating factors for sure, is just knowing that it could fail, but I just felt like God was leading me in a direction that this would probably work.
Yeah, it was interesting, like, because when we first met, you know, I remember, so we first met and you brought the faceplates down for the amp, and if I remember correctly, they weren't the proper faceplates. You had made a change, so
Yeah.
you had brought them down just to, and come down to my shop, and we're just kind of like, you just wanted to see whether or not we could do it or would do it.
Yeah.
And I had told you to bring the amp with you when you came, and you showed up and you just had the plates, and I remember being like,
Where's the amp?
where's the amp? Like, yeah, the plates, yeah.
I must have
told you I
missed
could
that.
do this.
Yeah.
But, and then, so you came, you're like, well, I'll come back with the real plates in a week or whatever it was, and I'll bring the amp with me. So when you came back, we were in my house, and I remember we took, and I had a dual rectifier, like a 3-channel dual rectifier with a Mesa 2x12 cabinet, which was my high gain, or my main high gain amp. I think I had an orange and some other stuff at the time too.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I set the generator prototype down on top of it, because I don't even think you had, like, I don't think you had plates on the amp. I think you just had, like,
No.
it was just a chassis with, like,
Yeah.
Sharpie written
You got
for
it.
each control.
Yeah.
And I remember you plugging me into it and taking me through it, and I was like, okay. I'm like, and I remember I played for, like, maybe 2 minutes, and I, like, set my guitar down. I was like, so where did you build it and how'd you do it?
Yeah.
And you were like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, well, I think you said first in my basement, but what do you mean? And I said, well, you fixed everything that I don't like about the rectifier. It's not the same as a rectifier. It has this, like, modern high gain voice thing. I'm like, but and it's different than what the rectifier's voice is. I'm like, but everything I want the rectifier to do
Yeah.
that it won't do, this is doing, and I haven't spent any time with it yet. And I remember saying, you can build me one.
Yeah.
And you laughed, and you were like, oh, really? You're like, I didn't even tell you how much it cost yet. And then I laughed at you and said, that's okay. I didn't tell you how much the printing cost, so I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you told me how much it was, and I was like, well, the printing won't be that much, so I'll owe you some money, but you can build me one.
Yeah.
And
I was pretty happy about that one.
and then I remember, us talking back and forth on Facebook about like how you were planning to market it, how you were planning to sell it, and what you were doing.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt the same way, that I had just lost a big contract with my company. My company was fine and stable, but I was really tired of, like, the constant grind of, like, bidding on work after work. And I was like, man, I wish I had something where, like, I produced part of this, like, part of a product in-house that I controlled where it was being produced, and, like,
Yeah.
who it was being sold to, how it was being sold,
Yeah.
all of those kind of things. So I don't even think you had finished my amp before I was like, I mean, we were talking back and forth all the time
Yeah.
about, like, what you were doing with the faceplates on the amp and stuff like that. And I don't remember if I offered to partner up with you before I got the amp or after. I think it was after.
I think it was after. Ooh, it's going back a little
Yeah.
bit already. But I think it was after. I think I'd already built it. And I think maybe that was another factor in you deciding that you wanted
Well,
to
I
do
do
this.
remember, like, one of the other fun stories that sticks out for me was that when I asked you how you were selling them, you're like, I built one other one besides yours for somebody that has a studio in town, and they're showing people, and then otherwise, I just emailed some people and told them I could build them the best amp they've played for $3,000 or whatever it was at the time. And what was really funny is I have like a really close friend who's actually our IT guy here, that he was always like Brent was always my trusted dude when it came to high gain amps. Like he had rectifiers, he had I think he had like a Stiletto or, man, I can't even remember what, maybe a Nomad.
Yeah.
But he also had like 5150s, and he had a Bogner Uberschall at one point.
Yeah.
And he was kind of constantly going through amps. And I called him because this was the first time that I had something that he had never seen. And I told him, like, man, you got to come down to the shop, check this out. So he came down, and he walks in. Oh, because he said, what do you have? I said, I have the best amp I've ever played.
Wow.
I said, you got to come down. I'm like, because this thing's awesome.
Yeah.
So he came down to the shop, and he walks in. He's like, Revv. He's like, that dude emailed my guitar player. Because you had been talking to one of his guitar players who knew somebody that knew Ryan or somebody. So he's like, yeah, that dude emailed my guitar player and said that he could build him the best amp he could ever play for $3,000 or $2,500 or whatever it was at the time.
Wow, that's pretty
confident.
confident.
And I looked at him and I said, he wasn't lying.
Oh, wow.
So
awesome.
I just remember that, and Brent just laughed. And then Brent played mine, and Brent immediately was like, how do I get one? And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll talk to Dan and we'll get it going. And
crazy.
So that was way back in like, I think we partnered up in 2013, like the tail end of 2013. And then we reincorporated the company in January of 2014. Was kind of like how we started off.
Yeah.
And
bare bones.
Yeah.
Ground zero, if you will.
Nice. You can scroll down, Stobes. That's awesome to see where you guys are all from, too. Like, it's all over the place.
Wow, nice, guys.
Southern California.
It's snowing like crazy here today.
Oh, Sean wants to hear the...
Through a 412, what? Oh, yeah, hey,
the
dude.
EV12L speakers. Dude, that's going to be so heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, like I say, I'm up for most things.
Oh, terrible. Okay, so what is with the amps, the difference in the logos? All right, so, man, how do we...
Oh,
okay.
What, the Revv logos?
Yeah, I'm going to figure out how we should get into that, but we'll talk about the logos when we get to some of the amps here.
Oh, this could be a long show.
Yeah, I'm going to try to move it along a little bit.
There's a lot of info here, guys.
Sorry, there's lots of questions. Luke asked where the name came from. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a Christian, right? So, because I was putting my faith in God and allowing Him to steer me through the creation and even some of the knowledge that I have, I feel He gave me, I named the company after the Book of Revelation, chapter 5. And so the double V's is actually, the last V is a 5. It's the Roman numeral. So it's REV for the Book of Revelation, chapter 5. And in chapter 5, there is a scripture that was, important to me at the time, still is today, but more important to me and my outlook, sort of taking a leap of faith. And so I named the company that.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on the logo. So you had all of the branding and everything done, right, like before we even met.
Yeah.
And the only influence I had on that, so for those of you who are watching that don't know much about me, so Dan and I partnered up because I owned a printing company, and I have a background in running like a screen printing company, either my own company that I had for probably 10 years almost before we met. Like 7 to 10 years, and prior to that, I was running a different company for 5 or 6 years before that. So, so the logo, I remember two things. I immediately said, like, we should drop the amplification, because if you guys can see this little guy here, it actually, originally, they all said Revv amplification in it.
Yeah.
And I remember calling you and being like, hey, man, I think we should drop the amplification out of there and just call it Revv, because eventually we're going to get into pedals and stuff, and we may not want it to be Revv amplification, which in hindsight, I think it's good because it's easier to put the logo on the pedals, but everybody does call them Revv amp pedals. So like the idea that we thought that people would be kind of like, oh, they're Revv pedals, like it didn't, it's just another example of like, overthinking something of like, well, we're gonna do this and do this and do this, and then
But at the time that you mentioned it, I completely agreed. It was like, yeah,
it
that's
makes
right.
sense,
It makes
right?
sense because I mean, right now we're Revv amps, definitely, but who knows? We might be Revv pedals, Revv guitars, Revv. Who knows where we go with it, right? And,
Yep.
and so I thought, yeah, let's drop that amp. For me, when I discovered that logo, it's funny because I had this cheap program that I was just tinkering with. I was stretching out some circles and stuff, and I landed with that. And the V, I'm not even sure I came with that, but I thought, oh, the amplification it would tuck in just nice.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw the logo, I was like, it looks cool. As a designer, it drives me nuts because the Revv isn't centered within the oval.
As close as I get.
Yeah,
As close as I needed to have it.
but I liked it. Now, for anybody who wants to know like why the logo changed, so we learned a very valuable lesson, and this is super important, and that is that as guitar players, we hear with our eyes first. And what we found was when we started, especially once we were looking at, like, we did the first Dynamis combos, and we did like a really terrible version of the Dynamis head that we don't even have a prototype of anymore, because it was just the combo chassis stuck into a head box, and it was like really poorly balanced weight-wise, because with no speaker in the front to balance it out the weight, it just like fell like it wanted to fall into you when you're holding it. And I think we only ever made one.
I think it was just one.
And we had it at NAMM, Summer NAMM, the first Summer NAMM we were there. And a dealer bought it from us.
Yeah, that's right.
And we sold it because back then we would sell almost anything to
Whatever
try
we
to
could.
not lose a lot of money. So, which we failed miserably at for a few years. But no, we did well at selling everything. We failed miserably at not losing a lot of money. But so what happened was and I'll try to get to the point where we're gonna play amps here instead of just telling stories. But I remember we had our amps at this place called Soundcheck in Nashville, which is like a rehearsal space, and mostly country bands are there. There are lots of hard rock bands there. Like when I first met the guys and delivered the amps for Asking Alexandria, that's where they were rehearsing. But we used to have Gen 740s there in their rental department. And they were there for like 4 months, and no one touched them. Like, I would go there every couple months. I'd be in Nashville, and I'd literally wipe the dust off of it because I'm like, no one has moved this amp.
Darn.
And I remember our artist relations guy at the time was from Nashville. His name's Jason Herndon, who's a great, I don't know if you call him Americana artist or what he is. He's a great songwriter, great dude. Check out Jason Herndon's music if you get a chance. And anyway, Jason was like, you know what, man? He's like, I just think if you guys just changed this from a black Tolex Generator 740, he's like, I saw you did like a blue one for yourself with a white chassis. If you could do a seafoam green one and put it here, I bet you'd make a difference. And I'm not kidding. I swapped it out for a green 740, and it was gone almost all the time. Because it looked softer. And we still have always been kind of pigeonholed to metal, even though things like the D20, and I'm not a metal player, like I'm a hard rock player, blues rock player, or I play at church, so it's like I use D20s and I use wet effects, and like now I pretty much, the most gain I need is the tilt. Right? And I remember a lot of people kind of commenting that part of what they thought made us seem metal was the first V in the Revv logo. And the fact that it comes down to a sharp point. So I remember when we were designing the Dynamis, or like the Dynamis head, which would have been like 2017, would have been when we were doing the head.
That's right.
And I called my buddy Chris, who's a brand manager for a massive company in Canada, and he had a Gen 740, and I was like, hey man, we're thinking about doing something different. Could you pitch me some ideas for a logo? And he sent back like the rectangular logo that we use now. And I'm not kidding. We decided to use that logo on the 100P.
Yeah.
And the 100P instantly took off and outsold the 120, the 100R, and the 740 all combined.
Yeah.
Part of that's because it's a purple channel, but a big part of it, in my opinion, is purely the branding.
Yeah. Softer look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's it. And it's that lesson that we learned that people hear with their eyes first.
Yeah. Absolutely. It really is. Yeah. It's,
So, speaking of the faceplate, what was your thought process in designing them with the lighting?
Okay, yeah. So I actually rebuilt an amp for a guy way back when. It was a Line 6 Spider, and it had
The Bogner.
yes, the Bogner / Line 6 thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it had Line 6 effects and it had DSP in it, but it was a tube head. And so the DSP stuff fried somehow, and he was like, I don't know what to do with this thing. Can you transform it into like an all tube amplifier? I was like, sure. So I tore out the DSP stuff, but the amplifier itself had like a light up window, right? And so it lit up with Line 6 and it was just white. And I thought, man, that's a cool looking thing, right? And I thought it'd be really cool is to have it change colors for each channel. That way, if you looked at the amp, let's say you're on the stage or something and you can't quite see your foot pedal, or if you didn't have it, at least you could look back and go, okay, it's green, so I'm on this channel. And so, you know, just getting into the whole, like I touched on earlier, the technology thing and making things a little bit more. Well, that kind of applied, and I thought, well, hey, I've got the ability to make this happen. I got a microcontroller in this thing. Why not make them switch colors too? And so threw it in there.
Yep. Oh, I remember that because like the prototype that you brought was just white, and like I remember talking to you while you were building my the amp that I ordered, and being like, oh, I got some ideas, like printing wise, like what we could do differently with the faceplate if you want. And you're like, oh, I got an idea. You'll see when you get your amp. And I'm like, all right, sure. So then I get my amp and you show me that the colors all changed. I'm like, that is much better than the idea that I had. That's, yes.
Yeah,
and
why not color change?
And like your comment is so bang on, because when I played live, I played in a really small Christian hard rock / punk rock band.
Yeah.
And I was playing mostly Mesa triple rectifiers, the 3 channels. I later on ended up using a dual rectifier. But their foot pedal, I play, like I dig in really hard. Like I step on my pedals really hard.
Okay.
Right? And I had busted out all of the LEDs on the foot switch. So there were multiple times where I was playing that I would, you know, I'm supposed to be on the 3rd channel on the rectifier, and I'm on the 2nd channel. Like I'm on the crunch sound. I'm feels, and I mean this is back in the like early 2000s where, you know, we didn't have in-ear monitors. We didn't have anything that was going to tell me what was going on. Most of the shows that we played were small, you know, venues that we'd be very lucky. If there were monitors, it was for vocals only. Like there's no way that, you know, guitar amps cabinets were turned backwards, so you're also not hearing, like you're hearing it off the back wall or from, you know, whatever bit of front of house you get is coming back at you. Yeah. And there were so many times I looked at my foot switch and I was like, yep, I can't tell. There's no lights. And then I'd look at the amp and I'd be like, oh, and there's this tiny LED that I'm like, okay, that's the channel I'm on.
Absolutely.
So,
and part of that stems just from playing in a band and knowing like there were hurdles even for us. We'd perform in, you know, dark bars where you could barely see anything, and it's like, what's on? Like, oh no, are we ready to go? It's like, you don't know. So make it light up.
Yeah. Derek Lawson has said, how many amps have you made to date?
Oh, okay. Like, well, designed or made, that's 2 different things, right?
Yeah. Are you wondering how many we've produced as a company, or how many has Dan designed? You can answer, and then we'll answer it again.
I've designed quite a few. Personally, I've made lots. I don't know. How many do you think I've made? 100?
More than 100.
Yeah, I've made a few hundred, I guess, by hand.
Yeah.
Just me before we got really going with, you know, staff and stuff. But design-wise, oh man, at least 12 or more.
So we've got your 7-watt prototype.
Yeah.
You've got the 740 Mark 1, 740 Mark 2, generator 100R Mark 1, generator 120 Mark 1, generator 120 hand-wired. You have Mark 2 Gen 120, Mark 2 100R, Mark 2 100P. Then you've got the 50. You got the Mark 3 120. Mark III 100P, Mark III 100R, Dynamis combo, Dynamis head.
Yeah. The new ones.
D20, G20 is like 15 or 16
Yeah,
at
so
least.
it's quite a
And
few.
then there's other things that we have off camera right now that I don't know if we'll show you, but there's the
Yeah.
prototypes of new stuff that we're working on right now. That
Yeah, there's those.
There's at least 5 new amps that we're working on.
Yeah.
We have one of them that you can kind of see right here.
Yeah.
We might let you guys hear a little bit of.
Yeah.
But yeah. Scroll down a little bit there, Stobe. So
Yeah, I love every moment of it too. I gotta say, it's awesome. I like to form tones and
yes. Hold
and
on.
stuff like
Poo
that.
Ninja. It's my time to shine.
Oh.
Whose idea was it to make the cabinets change color, Dan?
Yeah, that's all him. Definitely.
And
I didn't want to do it at first.
I was gonna say, and how annoyed were you
Yeah.
when I was like,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
let's make the cabinets change color"?
Yeah, I thought, oh no, this could be a train wreck, and it was hard to get going. I'll
was
admit.
horrible.
It was horrible, but
Like-
now I'm happy we did.
Do you remember Tim Turnier's 4x12s? Like,
Oh, yeah.
until we figured out better ways. Like, you figured out a better system for mounting the lights, but I was doing all of our CNC routing
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time, and like
And
I
laser
went
cutting.
through so many MDF
Oh,
designs
man.
for trying to make this stupid badge
Yeah.
like
We
be
s-
held properly and
yeah,
like
we struggled.
oh, so much time in
Oh,
R&D and like yeah.
And then there's the whole, trying to get the amp to play with the cab and figuring, okay, well, how do I make this work now? And I thought, oh, this is a bad idea. But I'm glad we did it. It's just, getting it going was tough. Now that we've got a good it's like, yes.
Yeah. I'm glad it works now. And
Yeah,
it's much sleeker now than what it used to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you still need can holders on the sides of our amps? Yes, we do.
Yeah, I can make it some sort of a plastic accessory. And
Blue and green and tilter where you live mostly. Dude, you and I are the same. Yeah. Revv logo in cursive for a boutique combo design contest. You know what? That already exists. We have like I don't know where my hat is that has it. I don't know if there's anything here that has it. Dorian wears it, or I was wearing one on live streams before.
yeah.
We tried it. We're not saying we're not going to do it, but I felt like it just felt like we were ripping off Fender when we did it a little bit. Like I thought it looked really cool. I mean, it's just a baseball T-shirt style logo is all it is,
yeah.
right? Because that's kind of what Fender's
Yeah.
logo is, but
Yeah.
it does exist. Yeah.
I don't think we have anything to show you right now, though.
No, I don't think I have one here, Luke. Don't bother looking for it. But yeah, we have talked about that. Yeah, the current logo is more by being less. I agree. You know what? These comments are probably like way old, and people are like, why are they answering this stuff right now?
Yeah. We're trying to get it all in, I promise. Metal too.
Was I in Cutlass or 1,000 Foot Crutch? Andy asks. No, but I am good friends with the dudes from 1,000 Foot Crutch, and I did play a number of shows opening for them. So I think a couple shows opening for them. They're great guys. Okay, scroll down. Just keep going. Oh, sorry, what was that? Go up a little bit. What's that? Jaycroft, can you talk about the tweaks made? All right, yeah, okay. Let's actually do that. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Scroll down. We'll see about the rest of them. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and we're going to play the 100.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the differences and sort
Yeah.
of what I was thinking about at the time.
Jacob, tubes are not still hard to get anymore.
Yeah, tubes aren't as difficult. Their supply is starting to come back. Not super strong, but a lot stronger than that last live stream we did when we were talking about tube shortages. So, I mean, the trouble with them right now is they're starting to come back in stock, but the prices have not come down. Hopefully that works itself out in 2023, but that's, yet to be determined, I suppose.
Somebody asked about tips about cable management. We use, I don't know what that stuff's called. Stopes, you know what that braided stuff is called? We use this really cool stuff. I don't know if we have an example of it because it's almost all taped down right now. But it's like a braided shield that you can put multiple cables through, and if you like push on it,
Yeah,
you push it together, it like balloons out so you can pass all your cable ends through.
yeah,
It's really great stuff.
handy.
Yeah,
that's-
I don't know if you guys can really tell from the mess on the floor what it is, but we use that stuff and we loom all our cables.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them, but we loom a lot of our cables together. That's my favorite way to do it right now because there isn't really anything that I know of that is.
Oh yeah,
is
especially
better.
with 4 cable method, like you're gonna have so many cables, you might as well loom them. I mean, if you can, right? If you're running pedal board plus amp and the amp is way in the back, long cables, but
Poo Ninja wants a triple amp W
Yes,
wet
he's-
dry wet prototype coming that is going to weigh 300 pounds.
so he's asked for that multiple times. And
every show.
yes, Poo Ninja, it's on the back of my mind. I don't know if it'll ever come to the forefront, but we'll see, buddy.
Jeff asked for
Love you,
favorite.
Poo Ninja, you the man.
Jeff asked for favorite speaker combos for us both. Mine is Celestion Vintage 30 and G12 H75 Creamback, or WGS, which I'm a big fan of as well. Great speakers, horrible name. We're those guitar
Yeah,
speakers. Veteran 30 and ET90. I really like the ET90.
Yeah,
speaker.
ET90 is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's pretty much the same. The Creambacks with the V30s. I really dig that. I dig the WGS stuff too, but I think I'm leaning more towards the Creambacks and V30s personally.
Ooh, okay. Let's address that one comment right there. Yep. Nope. Down. The Catherio. As a designer, can you please describe the differences you hear in point-to-point, hand-wired, and PCB type circuits? How much of the sound is in the components versus the builder?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what you hear is smoke and mirrors. Point-to-point definitely has its place for sure. PCB, yeah, great. You can obtain the same tones in both platforms. It depends on how much work you want to put in, how experienced you are with circuits coupling and transferring signal from one to the other, stealing signal from one to the other. I've done both. I lean towards PCB because I can obtain the same tones or better, but we can also produce more amps quickly. We get the same tone every time.
Yeah.
That's super important to me because I've built a few point-to-points where they don't sound the same.
Yeah.
And not by a lot, but enough for me to notice, like, man, like that doesn't sound right. And then you got to go back in, figure out, are wires too close to each other? What's coupling? What's changed? When it comes to components, I find they're close enough that you can get 2 amps that sound almost identical. It's not different enough where you're cheesed or you think something is wrong with the thing. So personally, I believe, and my experience with it is that there's no difference between the two. It just depends on what you're after and the amount of work you're going to want to put into it. So like I said, for us, PCB makes more sense because we have a lot of amps to build, and hand wiring it now just wouldn't work. A generator 120 could not be hand wired anymore, not with the technology in it anyway. Does that mean I'll never do a point-to-point? No, I probably will in the future. I don't mind it. It does have its merits, but for me, I'm a PCB guy. Mounting tube sockets to PCBs, there's nothing wrong with that. I've done stress tests. I've beat the heck out of these amps. They're very durable and reliable, because you'll hear things too. Oh, PCB mounted tube sockets are not reliable. That's untrue. That's untrue. I wouldn't have gone to that technology if I didn't think they were gonna be strong for our customers. So
Yeah, I think that PCB's got a bad rap from companies like back in the 90s.
yeah.
That just either stuff being, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but I think that there's just some companies that maybe weren't great at PCB design. So things were difficult to work on. And I also think that there are a lot, which I make some enemies saying this, but I think there are a lot of amp technicians out there that can't figure out how to fix or replace a trace if something gets burnt on a PCB board.
Yeah, there's always that.
So they hand wired because it's a lot easier for them to work on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've watched you when we've had prototypes of things that something wasn't quite right. Instead of waiting for new PCBs to come in, I've watched you,
Pull up
scrape
traces.
and pull up traces and and change, reroute things. So it is completely possible to do. It's just, I think that it is a pain in the ass to do that for sure.
Yep.
But I just think that it got a bad rap because people would kind of say oh, I can't fix this. And I think that had more to do or in my opinion, has more to do with the skill level of the person and the knowledge level of the person working on the product more than the product itself. And in some cases, absolutely, there were just shit quality PCBs
Absolutely.
that were out there.
I was just going to say, yeah, it depends on the quality of PCB. Because if you're using a one-sided board and you're expecting it to hold a tube socket, probably isn't going to happen. I know there's a lot of companies that they make one-sided PCB, and you got jumpers all over the place, and like that's not going to do well with a tube socket. It's got to be a high-quality board, and the traces and the pads have to be able to handle any kind of mechanical pressure that you're going to put on it when you're pushing in and removing a tube, right? And then also, how are you supporting the tube once it's in the socket? There's going to be vibration. There's going to be the amp being thrown into back of trucks, right? Going to gigs. There's all that stuff too, and that's got to be taken into consideration. And so it comes down to just what kind of products are you putting into it? What kind of material and the quality behind them? If it's crap, well, it's garbage
What's
in,
the
garbage
architecture?
out. Yep, that's right.
Aaron just ordered a Revv a couple weeks ago. Should I run the tuner in front or in the loop? I run mine in front,
Oh yeah,
but I like using it as a mute. So there is a mute on the amp, but I use the tuner as a mute 9 times out of 10.
yep.
Okay, scroll down a little bit there, Stobes, and let's. We got bots. Oh man,
Whoa.
got the.
Wow, we've moved up in the world,
Yeah.
everybody. Look at that, we got bots. Yeah. Oh, I've never read that paper.
I haven't
Steve.
either, but I'd be
Yeah,
interested.
I'd be interested to see what he said. I mean, PCBs in the 80s are a lot different than they are today, right?
Scroll down. How much difference does the wall voltage fluctuations make, and is there a need for power conditioners? If yes, are they very expensive to have this built into the amps? What a great question.
That's a really good question. So it's not really the fluctuation in power that's the problem, it's the dirty power. So if you've got an AC signal coming in off your mains that is very dirty, very spiky, and your transformer isn't going to do much about it but pass it along. And so then it comes down to the filtering in the amp to try and squash that and turn it into a nice clean DC power source. But to build that into the amp would be very expensive, yes. That's not something that I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to make these amps so expensive, and nobody does, no company does. And so it makes more sense to buy the power conditioner if you have bad power. And not everybody has bad power, so not everybody's going to need it, right?
And a lot of power conditioners that are on the market aren't really doing anything to change it. It's just like, Stobes always bugs me about this, that we have glorified power bars that have voltage meter readings on them, that we can see the bad power, but it doesn't do anything about it. It just shows you that you're getting 123 volts or something instead of 120.
Exactly.
So
so minor fluctuations doesn't matter. Like if you're running an amp wired for 120 volts and it spikes up to 125, even 130, a short burst like that isn't necessarily going to do any damage. Just when you're plugging in an amp wired for 120 volts and you plug it into 230 volts, then you're going to probably have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of folklore around that too, and I do know that there are minor differences that you'll get with certain amps, like like older Marshalls. If you sag the voltage, to like 112 or 110, or you know what I mean, like pull it down from 120, you're gonna notice a difference. But
internally is the biggest factor there is, are your components able to handle it? So if you've got a capacitor in your amp and it's rated for 400 volts and you're running at 390 or 395 and it spikes, you're probably gonna have problems. It could blow the cap. But I mean, from a design perspective, you don't do that. You have to consider that, somebody might plug in something that might give this, an extra 20, 25 volts. So let's over-spec the capacitor to be able to handle that. And I overspec them by a lot. So my rails, my capacitors in my power sections are overrated by a lot. Like they'll handle, it'll kill the fuse to put in 230 volts into a 120 amp, but it'll handle it for a while. I don't recommend it, obviously, but
it doesn't sound good. I've done it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good, but it'll handle it. So I mean, if you're using an amplifier or designing an amplifier, that'd be the first thing to consider is make sure that you're over-speccing your cabs, because that's very important. And
Yeah.
so a quick boost of 5-10 volts isn't going to do nothing.
All right, let's play some amps. So we had a question, I think Jay had asked, like circuit differences. So we've got this lovely wall wired up behind us, so I'm going to try not to mess it up. And obviously, since we're already over an hour, I'm going to try to do this faster. So let's do this, Dan. Why don't you dial stuff in?
Sure.
And so I'm going to see... Am I catching the right one there? No. Okay, so up there, I don't know if you guys can see up there. So that's the generator 120. That is the hand-wired version. That is the second production amp that Dan built.
Yeah.
So he built one for a guy named Ryan Forsyth first, and then I got the second one. So I know you guys don't care very much about clean tones, but I think what we'll do is go like... So you guys can hear what that clean is like, right? So like from the hand-wired, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle through... Yeah, why don't you set all the way through to the Mark III.
Okay,
so we got 4 120s that we're going to compare, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly...
I'm going to take that off. I'll put the bright on, but I'll leave the white off, so it's sort of similar. We'll just see.
Okay. So, I gotta make sure I do this properly. So, yep. Here is the PCB version. Right? So I was on the hand wire, now I'm on the PCB.
You're on the
underneath.
PCB? Okay, yeah.
Now I'm gonna go to the Mark II.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Clean.
It's set a little bit quieter. The masters are lower. That's...
Yeah. Yeah.
You can turn the master up. So it is a little bit warmer on the, like I find, like as...
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing about these heads, is that the newer versions began to get warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like from there, I'll go back. You can hear how it's like a little bit brighter, and like it's a little stiffer compared to... And then I'm gonna go to the Mark III. The mastering needs to come up on there too. Actually, the channel levels is a little low there. Yeah. And the really great thing about on the Mark III that changed that isn't on the Mark I or the Mark II is that wide switch. So kick that wide in, like that's it's an amazing difference. Like, so if I go from there back to the Mark III, or sorry, the Mark II, like listen tonally to that.
Yeah.
Like you just hear how much more like present and... oh no, I should note too. We're not playing into cabs here. I could put it through a cab, but it'll sound terrible to you guys.
Yeah.
We're going through a Torpedo Captor X for this. So even though we've got on the Mark IIIs, we've got the torpedo embedded built in. We just have our Ampede amp switcher. One of the cabinets is set up as a Captor X, and it is a Revv 4x12 cabinet with that Sean designed a preset for us that has a...
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's the 121 with a 57 on it. So, yeah, and it's that time. Everybody tell us what you're drinking tonight too, because I don't know if we kind of asked that in the beginning, but that was an hour ago.
Yeah. Things change. Tastes.
Yeah. Well, this is
change.
good. This is the Noche, the Mexican-style dark lager from Half Pints, which is also a local beer. Look at that. Even the top is black. Look at that, eh?
Yeah, is it good?
Oh, yeah, bud. It's not too bad.
All right,
Pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and if you haven't watched the old 12 Days of Christmas video with Luke and I, you should get on that there, bud. Win some cool stuff. Get some swag. All right, so let's hit channel 2, because this is where the biggest change to me came in between all three of the amps. So, channel 2 on the hand-wired. Maybe give that a bit more volume. I mean, the biggest change is that we got rid of the Segoe font.
Yeah, you know
like
what?
the,
This, no, not this plate. In the beginning, I was using plates that were laser etched
oh yeah.
before I met you, because I was looking for metal plates that were screen printed, but I was only able to get out of the States too. It was essentially plastic with, I guess, a white center, right? And the guy would laser cut the fonts out.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is cheap. I better not use that.
Okay. I'm gonna go through these green channels, and then Kathira, I'll tell you about like some of the stress testing stuff we've done. I'll just tell you now. From my end, I've dropped a shitload of amps from like above my head to see if they break.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've ever successfully broken was tubes.
Yeah.
And I will note that if you guys haven't seen the winter test facility video that we did,
Right.
so the WTF video that we did last year or I don't remember. Last year?
2 years ago?
2 years ago. Yeah. I used a pedal as a hockey puck.
Yeah.
And that pedal still worked
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the pots were like kind of like they were bent because the pedals bent to shit, but
Yeah. They were whacking them.
it still powered up and it still made noise. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
I've even gone as far as standing on the tube sockets myself and bouncing on them without any,
Yeah.
like taking it, because I wanted to prove the fact that these things were durable. And so I take the tubes out, stand on the sockets and bounce them because they're sticking out of the chassis a little bit. And I wanted to see, so I stood on the amp, bounced on it, and it was fine.
I think you can do that. I
didn't
think
break.
I would break the amp.
I'm
I'm too fat for that. Stove's
Get an
asking
app.
how many times did I shoot that puck or that pedal. It was probably wasn't a lot. I think like 5 takes maybe. But I did hit the crossbar.
Oh yeah, that
Like it-
sucker. Oof.
Yeah. So
Oh, that thing should not have worked after us with that. Oh, we damaged that sucker bad, but yeah, it still worked.
it's fun. That was a fun video.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, you should watch it. We do our best to
Yeah.
ham up the Canadianity side of our company. See you later, Poo Ninja. So this is the green channel on the hand wired, which to me is like, it has all the characteristics of what I want, but just not enough of it. Like the gain's at noon.
Yeah.
And even on the Mark 1, it's a little bit different, I think, but still. So now I'm down. Yep.
You're
next
on Mark 1?
Mark 1, which is,
Oh, over here.
yeah, yeah. So like
These
right
aren't-
now it's just a little louder.
These
Then-
might-
So turn the volume down a little bit, but it's still kind of like it's good for, but it's still kind of lacking, like as far as like crunch tones go.
yeah.
And also, this is the other thing that's interesting. On the Mark 1s, that wiring harness in that Mark 1 is actually a 100 wiring harness because it's glowing blue right now.
Oh, yeah, look at that, eh? Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
There you go.
we,
Something special.
that's what happens when I get amps. Mine are all the leftover parts of like,
I didn't build this though.
yeah, no.
So it was probably you.
So I didn't build it. It was my brother, and he's no longer with us. So yeah, don't say anything bad about his wiring job.
No, it's perfect.
So yeah, so then the big changes that came from the Mark 1 to the Mark 2, the crunch channel did change for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now the other thing that changed is the size of the amps.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we moved to a little bit smaller
Yeah. Couple inches.
power transformers and like 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches
Oh, 2. Yeah.
smaller on the head shell. So let's go to the Mark II. So you can instantly hear, even with the gain set a little bit lower, there's a bit more bottom end, definitely more saturation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And this is also when we moved to having like selectable wattage on amps was in the
Right.
Mark IIs.
Yeah. That's right. no drive stages or anything like that. Just
So then now on the Mark III, the Mark III is the first time that a pedal influenced an amp rather than an amp always influencing pedals.
yeah,
So on the when we were doing the G2 pedal, because we did G3 first, then G4, then G2. And I remember calling you and being like, hey, can we put a switch on the G2? And you're like, why? And I'm like, well, because we have chassis, and then we could use the same chassis and just get them painted a different color. I'm like, so do you think you could just make like, I don't know, like a drive switch with different saturations, like what the aggression switch does? And you were immediately like, yep,
yeah,
I can.
yeah.
So the biggest difference between the Mark II and the Mark III on the green channel is the introduction of the drive switch and like different drive modes.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so here is the bass mode. Do you want to
Oh, yeah.
yeah, put that. Yeah, you got her.
There we go.
So like, so there's the 120 Mark II, and like, I love those type of tones. Like just kind of slightly broken, or not slightly broken up, but like just kind of crunchy,
Yeah,
right?
crunchy for sure.
And then here's the Mark III.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's got even more saturation. It's, yeah, just like,
and that's the lowest setting too.
I'd say it has a little bit more squish to it. So then now, like, if we switch through the,
There's the max. Oh yeah,
so,
tons different than the other two.
yeah, so now
Other
you've
three.
got like those extra drive levels, which,
Yeah.
what's it doing when you do that? Like, what did you,
I don't want to give away my trade secrets. So
there's
it's
a hamster in there that runs faster.
exactly. Yeah. We take a little carrot and we put it closer to him. He thinks he's gonna get it. No, it's simple things, just some filtering and popping in some
Caps
things
and stuff.
Caps, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so which one? Oh, you personally, I prefer the one better, the other one better. Personally, less drive. Yeah, I like the one that's like, I like the blue setting on this one the most. Like,
Yeah, it depends on what kind of rock tone you're after, right? Because channel 3 and 4 are going to be high gain, and so you're not really going to be able to back them down to get this kind of sound. And so it just comes down to how much saturated rock tone do you want. If you're more of a light gain kind of guy, then the other ones will do you better. But you can always back down the MK3 to get there too. It's just now it has the ability to go a little bit harder.
what do you guys want to hear next? Like, I hear people asking about the G, like Anthony's asking about the G50. Do you want to hear that, or do you want to hear the differences in the purple channel and the red channel across the Mark 1s to the Mark 3s? Or essentially what happened is like, we'd get feedback that like, I really like it, but I wish that channel 3 had more bass, or channel 4
Yeah.
had more bass.
Yeah.
And I think like from the first time that somebody made a comment like that, from then on, you just constantly have been tweaking with circuits and being like, I wonder what else I can change here, and like,
Yep.
if there's anything that'll make it sound a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't help but tweaking. I mean, I listen to you guys, so whenever we're, I'm sitting on the Revv community and I hear this or that, I'm intrigued. Like I say, I'm a bit of a tweaker, so I want to make our customers happy and myself too. I enjoy this. This is part of my experience, and so when I plug in a guitar and I'm jamming away, I mean, I want the same kind of thing, and so.
So you guys want to hear the purple channel? Derek Clausen says yes. You want?
Yeah.
We'll go quick here.
Okay. And then we'll jump to one of the other.
Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll jump to the. I mean, I don't know if it matters if we go in order, but yeah. So
I think they're
let's put them all in the blue mode, and let's
they're
just show like.
primarily. Yeah, they're pretty much all there.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you've made so many changes to EQ and stuff over the years that
Yeah.
they're not going to be the same anyway.
They're not. No.
So maybe click the aggressions, all the blue,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
let's.
Right. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
So,
Take
here you
that
go.
off.
Hand wired. Mark 1. Mark 2. Mark 3. Oh, whoops. All right, let's do the same on the red. You're like, I just want to sit down, man.
That's all good. It's all good. This is where it's at.
Let's do the blue mode too.
Oh yeah, I guess we're not.
I
there
like the
yet.
blue mode on almost everything the most.
Yeah.
How about you guys
fills
that
it
have
out.
generators? What do you guys think? Blue, aggression off, blue or red? What's your deal? Or hearing tonight, what do you guys? Well, you guys didn't hear the aggression modes. Never mind. Okay,
Where
so
is it at for
so here's the red on the hand wired. Here it is on the hand or the PCB Mark 1. Mark 2. Mark 3. So the red channel in the Mark III got the most drastic upgrade.
Yeah,
Well, that
it
and the
did.
green channels got
Yeah.
the biggest upgrades, and
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds just amazing. Yeah, huge difference in the Mark III.
Yeah. I gave it way more low
A
end.
lot of guys that were purple channel guys, like they were buying like mainly 100p Mark IIs,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like Sammy was always a purple channel guy, and now like is at least half of the time on the red channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. The 50. You guys want to hear the 50, hey? We'll check that out. We can check the Dynamis out. I keep making you go up and down. Actually, let's do the 100p Mark II.
What do you want to do with that?
Yeah, that's the Dynamis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan's got a bad back, so if it's killing you that I'm making you get up and down,
No, I'm
just let
good.
me know.
I'm good. Yeah.
Let's listen to the. Let's go to the purple channel on the 100p Mark II,
Okay. Yeah.
and then let's go I'll go the 120 to the.
120 to 100p.
Yeah. So if you
Okay.
could put me back on the purple channel on the 120.
yep.
One up.
There we go.
No, on the Mark II.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Fat switch engage. Oh.
So there's a difference in saturation. I wonder if we've dropped 2 tubes on that amp, though. That sounds really quiet.
Possibly. Hard to say. Is that this one?
That's that one, yeah. It's
Okay.
got a little bit more saturation, like in that versus like. This is the Mark III now, like.
Oh,
so like.
okay.
that's the 100p Mark II. It's a little bit woofier, right? Like versus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's badass. All right. So.
A lot of variation there.
Yeah. So what do you want to hear next? You guys want to hear the 50? Or we could talk about the Gen 740s. I mean, Gen 740 Mark II is my favorite amp. But I don't know. What do you guys want to hear?
I mean, we all.
There's a nice little lag that when I ask, we get to wait. We get to wait like.
Yeah. We can go through a few of the new ones, probably. Yeah, I've got the 50 here. Yeah.
The 100p boosted. So what's behind Dan is the prototype of the new, like the Dynamis Mark III.
Yeah.
All right, they want to hear. Let's go with the 740, and then we'll do the 50.
Okay. Yep.
Let's just do 740 Mark II. Like
Yeah.
the difference between Mark I and Mark II is the green channel.
Yeah. So what do we want to start at? Channel 1 or 2?
Channel 1.
Yeah. Clean.
Channel 1 clean, and then I'll go to crunch.
Okay.
So. Let's go to the crunch now.
That sounds great.
This is why I love that amp. The
Yeah.
second I touch that. I should play something in tune though. So yeah, like the green channel on the 740 is like, it's just the best. Like.
Yeah, it sounds great.
And because I can just like go to the neck pickup, roll my volume back a bit, and like for when I'm playing at church, like. I don't need any more gain than that. But one of the tricks that I always loved on this, so let's go to the red channel. So the red channel on the 740 always kind of felt like a cross between the purple and the red, like. But one of my favorite tricks is what you're kind of doing there, Dan.
Yeah.
Roll the gain off. And then just bring the, yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could just use that as like a fat overdrive rather than it being like, like, you know, kind of all out like. Anthony Best asked if he could hear the difference between the second channel's green, or like the green channel on the 740 versus the green channel on the Mark III.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's a little, I mean, Obviously, Anthony, that's a little tricky because there's no drive modes. So we have to figure out, like, is it the blue?
Which one's that?
Yeah, there you go. So there versus there. So, like, you can get there, like, really easily with the Mark III. Like, right? Like,
Yeah, you can.
you can get there, but, like, so this is the Mark III now.
Okay, yeah.
There's just,
You have depth and presence control here,
I was
too,
gonna
though,
say, there's
right?
more
So-
bottom end in this, which is
Yeah.
perceiving as, like,
Yeah.
a little bit more saturation. Yeah, bottom line, my takeaway is if you can't find a good sound on any of these, you are not trying hard enough.
Or you should
Yeah,
quit.
I mean, the thing that really got me wanting to invest and start a company, or well, I should say join the company with you, was the fact that like it wasn't just a one-trick pony. Like the 120 could do, like I could take it to church legitimately, and I could play for a worship service using a clean or slightly overdriven sound with some delays and verbs, and then I could also turn around and go play a punk rock show and have no issues and not felt like I was compromising. Where when I actually played in my band, towards the end of it, I was using a 410 DeVille for clean sounds, and then the rectifier for dirty stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's quickly look at this 50 thing here.
This guy here?
No, they want to hear that.
Oh, the 50.
Yeah, the amp that will never be made.
Okay.
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
only one. Should we tell them that, full disclosure, neither you nor I like more than 2 of the voicings in this amp, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
it's-
okay. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
6.
Let me see if I even remember how to use this thing here.
Well, it's the clean channel.
Okay, good, good.
Oh, there's reverb in it.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the back. You can't do
No.
anything about it.
Yeah. Let there be reverb. Oh, there's a clean, bright.
The clean's good. It's the generator's clean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the clean's great.
Does the voice switch affect the clean channel? It's been so long, I don't remember. I don't think it does. I think it's only the other 2.
I don't remember. I forget.
Yeah.
I abandoned
Yeah.
this project. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was crunch. I think we liked the crunch, right?
One of the 2 voicings.
Yeah. Oh, right, the voice switch.
There's clean bleed happening there.
Yeah.
Now, what about the
Yeah.
high gain?
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it.
There's like a whole bunch of switches on the back of this amp.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. That I'm wondering if like we've got the wattage low on
We
the,
might.
on like the
Yeah. Because it's adjustable.
So what we will tell you guys is this is a perfect example of, we took this to NAMM to show it long before it was ready,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
purely because we wanted to show people that we were working on a higher wattage amp that had the torpedo embedded tech in it.
Yeah.
We knew going to it. I remember when I picked it up from you, because the other thing, like Dan doesn't work at our facility here. Dan works out of his house because Dan lives 45 minutes away from our production facility. So why drive an hour and a half every day if you're mainly designing circuits, which you're going to be able to do at home the same way that you did every other product we have.
Yeah.
I remember when I picked it up from you, because I was leaving for NAMM, and I'm like, hey, man, I got to go because I'm driving and you're flying later. And you handed it to me and you said, you can have it. I'm done with it for now. And you were so not impressed. I'm like, oh, are you not happy? You're like, no, like, not at all.
Yeah.
You're like, but it's good enough to show what we want to show to the people that we're going to show it to. So it was kind of hidden at NAMM 2020. It was kind of hidden in our one of our soundproof meeting rooms to show mostly dealers and distributors and a couple artists that like, hey, we're, we are working on, because at the time, the D and the G20, well, the D20 was out, the G20 was just being released, and so that's it. And I've had tons of people say that they want it, and like no one's played it. Like like half a dozen people got to play it one time at NAMM, and like there's like a folklore around it.
Yeah. I mean, it's got potential.
It does. The knob layout drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it just drove you insane because you couldn't remember what things are and where they are because it's not like symmetrical. But I like the gold chassis though. Like out of everything, I think the aesthetic of it looks cool. What do you guys think? And also because neither Dan or I, and it's more Dan than me, but because neither of us were huge fans of how it was going, you immediately were like, I'm done with that. I'm just gonna put the embedded in the generator 120 and we'll just build a proper big bottle amp that has it. So like but yeah, there are some good sounds in it. It's just
it's just not perfect, right? Like it's not my best, and I didn't have the time to make it my best, and so I just thought, all right, well, I'm flying out of here in a few days. You're leaving now, so here you go.
You prefer the Revv in the middle of the chassis, or like in the middle of the chassis, or in the middle of the head shell? Marshall wannabe, yeah, absolutely. That was the intention, was because the intention was to do something that was a little crunchier, not quite as metal, and it turned out like still pretty metal. So, Dynamis.
Okay. Which one are we on?
The white one. That's very, very quiet. So
is that clean?
Yep. The volume's way down. You're turning up the reverb.
Right.
Have another beer.
There's always that.
So the Dynamis' clean channel is what the D20 is based off of, and like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is like a substantially. Substantially warmer clean. And it was meant to be like more of a like bluesier thing, and we should specify that this one's a little noisy. It's got a buzz because it's the prototype of it, so. So it's got a different clean than the generators. It's definitely more rounded and smoother. It takes pedals like unbelievably well. The second channel though. The red channel, it's kind of almost too high gain for the types of players that we were marketing it to. Though, like, we worked with a couple of Nashville guys before we had met Sean, and when we were voicing it, and like most of them still just ended up liking the clean channel over everything, and that's why the D20 exists. To be honest. But. We're actually like, I'm going to let you talk about this. So this amp is getting a complete redesign, and that's what this
Oh,
here
yeah.
is. And Dan just brought this. I actually played this at 6:30
Yeah, something like that.
today.
Yeah.
So,
It's new.
yeah,
It doesn't even have all the knobs on it yet. That's how new
No.
it is.
yeah. So,
So it's the next version of the Dynamis. So I wasn't, gotta be honest, I didn't quite understand at the time that I designed the Dynamis what that level of player really wanted.
so we got to hit the
Yeah,
internal load
okay,
button and kill
yeah,
the cabinet because we have the
right.
cabinet in the room. I know, Stobes. I'm not deaf.
Okay, here you go.
So, Sean, I hope you're still here because this is going to be the first time that Sean gets to hear this as well.
Right, yeah.
And Sean will get to play it next week when he's up here. But you probably turned the level up on the torpedo.
Right.
Oh no, that's not. No, sorry, that's wrong.
No,
The level on the torpedo's not doing anything. Oh no, are you
It
running the
is.
torpedo out of this? Yeah. Yeah, you are.
yeah, I can hear it. Okay. Here we go.
So this is the clean channel. It's not very clean.
With the drive.
Yeah.
It's got gain control this time
Yeah.
around, so
It's 6L6 right now. It's
whoops. I don't have that dialed in right.
it'd be helpful if there was if we had actually laser etched the faceplate for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, what's up, Dan? 6v6
Okay.
are not too low wattage. We actually use 6v6s in the original Dynamis and the Gen 740s. But we're trying 6L6s with this to see what we think. Turn the bright switch on. What do you guys think so far? So that's the clean channel. Let's talk about the drive channel.
Let's do it.
Oh, actually, no. Go back to the clean for a second and turn
Yeah.
the wide
Oh,
on.
yeah, there's a boost. Yeah.
So there's a boost on there. So like, turn the bright back on. It'll get like that. Like. Yeah, a little bit kind of crunchy that way, right? Like,
Yeah, I got the gain turned up too, so.
okay. All right, now let's do the crunch channel. So the big difference here is the crunch is like, it's not anywhere near as high gain as what the,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a fan on the heatsink.
Yeah.
That's for the internal load box.
Yeah.
Is that your dad's riff? I know. So yeah. All right, Poo Ninja, have a great Christmas, dude.
Yeah,
give it
Merry
that boost.
Christmas.
Yeah, so then you can boost it. And that's kind of as like hairy as it's gonna get, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like, it's not done yet, and it's not going to be done until, next year sometime. But
Yeah.
so that you guys could get a little taste of what it is. Now I need to tell you guys the thing that I'm kind of the most excited about. I mean, well, actually, I should back up. I mean, you guys all know about all of the pedals, right? And like how the pedals have kind of worked, right? Like where G2 was the generator's second channel. G3 is the generator third channel, G4 is the fourth channel, so that's why they're green, purple, and red.
Yep.
The tilt is Sean's pedal. If you don't have a tilt, they are still on sale for 2 days, or till tomorrow, and I think that's the end of the sale season stuff. So if you haven't got one, go on and get you one.
Yeah.
Anthony's asking, is the boost taken from?
No, the boost.
tilt.
I wouldn't say it's similar to what I do in the generators because it is different, but it's essentially something that's happening between a couple of stages. This circuit's nothing like the generator circuit, whereas with the older Dynamis, it was a modified version of the generator, where this
Right.
is completely different. Actually, to be honest, what I was doing with this guy was going for feel before tone, whereas before it was always tone. But after working with guys like Sean, realizing that the feel is so important, that was my main goal with this amp. And so getting the feel right came first, getting the tone right came second, which is completely different to what I've done in the past. But yeah, it sounds great. Little bright through our mix here, but it's something that can warm up really well. In fact, my first version of it wasn't bright enough, and so I had to bring up the highs a little bit. I know we blasted you guys with treble there, but it's something that can easily be warmed up incredibly quick. Just because it's part of the feel, right? Kind of want to give you a good top end breakup, but also something that's really warm sounding. So, but that also contributes to the way it feels. It is, these are fixed bias, yeah. Yeah, I haven't done anything that's cathode biased in the output sections yet.
Dan Blom at EB Roosters is asking, is there going to be more headroom on the clean channel?
Yeah, absolutely. With this one, actually, I measured the output here, and I'm pushing about 90 watts fully cranked. So it's going to be rated for 60, but with everything turned up, it's 90 watts out of the two tubes, and that's pushing it for all it's got. Obviously, you're not going to do that, but you'll get a nice clean 60 watts of power out of it, and so it's got a ton of clean headroom. Actually, I had to back the clean channel off a little bit because it was pushing too hard.
Yeah, man, I dig it.
Yeah,
dig
it
it.
sounds good.
I like it more through the cab in the room right now than through this, but we don't have any of the presets dialed in or anything on it. It's
I don't
like-
even know.
yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't even know which ones you're using.
that's the twin tracker.
Yeah.
That's a 1x12, I think.
Just reverb, no
DSP.
DSP-FX.
Yeah.
So, the next thing I want to talk about, because you guys care what I want to talk about, is this.
Yes.
So,
Let's talk about that.
first of all, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out for so long.
Yeah.
And like, fire off your questions, any questions you have. But I want to tell you guys a fun little story about this. So, because Dan works at his house, and kind of always has. I mean, you come to the shop, once a week or whatever is needed.
Yeah.
or when you've got stuff ready for you and I to sit down and do.
Yeah.
You showed up here maybe a month ago with a truckload of stuff that you're I'm moving things around in my workspace at home, and I'm already out of room, so I'm just gonna bring some of this stuff here. So you brought a whole bunch of old prototype amps and chassis and stuff that I had never seen.
Yeah.
And you had said this was the first amp that you actually ever built.
Yep.
And I had, full disclosure, I had not played this until after lunch today. Luke hooked it up. I knew that it was a 7-watt amp because you had talked about that, the first one I built was a 7-watt.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had never plugged into it. And I think you guys should hear how this amp sounds, because I have my opinions on it, which I will share. We can start with a clean channel, so it's just pretty simple, just treble and bass. And did you make it so that you could sense if you didn't connect your cabinet and this light would turn on?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. If there's no.
So it's I know. It's number 11. Thank you, Luke. Luke is standing up, being like, number 11. It's number 11 on the switcher.
Just so you know at
Getting there.
home.
Just give me a second.
You started playing.
It's number
I
11.
got scared.
So the clean is not as good as the cleans you do
No,
now.
no.
All right.
I didn't put any love into the clean channel on the 7-watt. It was just.
I have the L cap and the flint on for the. So there it is with no effects. It's not bad by any means. It's way nicer with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Always 11.
All right. But the channel 2 on this amp. Legitimately, that is exactly the reaction that I had. I was like, holy shit! I'm like, what it, like... Like, listen to the clarity on that. Sean, you are gonna love this amp when you get to play it. Like, Dorian and I this afternoon were like, oh man, like, okay, flick the contour switch while I'm playing. Like,
Yeah, sure.
Just listen to the difference here. Like. You guys have to hear this with Dorian's Les Paul. It's like, no, you know what? It's not anything like the Mark I. It's not like a generator. Like,
No.
It says generator on the front. It's way more. It feels way more Marshall-y than that, but it's not a Marshall. Like, it's
No, not even circuit wise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, an old Cornford? Yeah, Cornfords are awesome. It's
There it
awesome.
is. There it is.
I think I like it with the contour down more.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
So that's hand wired, that amp.
Oh, that's why it's good, right? Because
No.
it's not PCB?
No.
You've just destroyed everything
No,
you said
no,
earlier in the stream.
It's got nothing to do with it. Zero.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about this amp. Like, I forgot about the sound. I just assumed that it was so close to the generators because I've been working on those for so long, and it says generators. So I thought, oh yeah, well, I must have did that. I totally forgot what it sounded like because well, it's been so long.
How much? Like 100 grand, there's one. And I'm not going to let him sell it.
Yeah.
Because now that it's here, I claim squatter's rights. It's mine. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. Check this out. Like, you hear how good that sounds, right? Like with the tilt on it, dude, it's...
Yeah,
It
there's
has
still,
that, like...
there's still dust on it.
It has that, like... Roll that tilty cue to the left. Like that, Sean? Oh, I should turn the tilt on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess I gotta.
Yeah.
Guess I gotta do something with that now.
Not bad, eh? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I say, I forgot about that sound, and now that we've rediscovered it, I'll probably do
Sean
something
wants to
with it.
know what tubes are in it.
It's okay. Well, I mean, there's 12 AX7 in the preamp, a 12 AU7, I think, for the effects loop,
Probably, yeah.
and then the power section is a 12 BH7. So it's a preamp tube with two sides, and a custom transformer that's wound for something like, I think it's 13.5K or something. So it doesn't even have a conventional power section. It's a preamp tube with two sides, and I'm using the preamp tube like a push-pull,
Yeah.
like pretending it's two tubes. If I put 6V6s in it or 6L6s, or heck, even EL34s. Yeah, it was just an experiment, really, and I liked it at the time, and so I'm kind of thinking now that I should put EL34s behind that bad boy.
Yeah,
be-
make a 50 watter that like
Yeah,
is like blows away my CSA JCM 800.
Because I mean, all the tone is in the preamp.
Sean, I cannot stress enough how much you are going to want to play this when you get up here next week. It is ridiculous. It sounds so good and it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, pedalboard amp. Yeah, that'd be fun too. I got some ideas for that, but it's not gonna be with tubes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're hitting right at the 2-hour mark,
Yeah,
guys. So fire
yeah.
over your other questions for us, because like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be bathroom break time soon. So let's go.
yeah.
What do you guys want to know that I haven't covered? You don't see a lot of me, so let's go.
You don't need to ask me any questions. You see me all the time.
Yeah, you know Derek. You know he loves this amp now, and you need one. Although we only have one, so 250,000 ought to cover.
I mean, I only have one.
Right? Yeah. 250,000 will cover it.
No, it won't. Did you guys see somebody is trying to sell Dumble Overdrive Special for 400,000?
What?
With a cabinet, 400,000 US.
Is it a Dumble cabinet?
I've played it. The Dumble that's there. It used to be Tremonti's. It was at It was. I know Mark didn't pay this for it, but it was $130,000 at Carter Vintage Guitars in Nashville about 4 years ago.
Wowzers, that's incredible.
Yeah.
The tube lineup in this little amp is 12 AX7s and then a 12 BH7 for the power section.
How many amps per week are you trying to build right now?
Oh. You would know that better than me.
Yeah. Our capacity is roughly 15 to 20 Mark IIIs a week. And as high as 75, maybe 100 Alpha Series amps that we can build. But to be honest, we're building more pedals than anything right now.
Yeah.
We're still building lots of Mark IIIs. D20s and G20s, we had an extra 5 people this summer for our summer students. And we've kind of built ahead on a lot of D20 and G20 stuff. But yeah, so are you satisfied with the quality and specs of modern made transformers?
It depends on the manufacturer. Right now I'm using Hammond here in Canada, and I'm very thrilled with their quality. They do exactly what I asked them to. And because our equipment is also SGS certified, they had to go through some pretty stringent testing. And so now that SGS is happy with them and I'm happy with the tone, like it's a quality product for sure. We don't have really any issues with them. And when we do, it's right here at assembly phase where we can weed them out. And then we throw the amps under some pretty heavy testing and burn in here as well. So anything that does fail will happen here. But to be honest, we rarely have issues with transformers. And yeah, I really enjoy working with Hammond here in Canada. And I've used others in America too, and I've had great success. But we all know, but they don't exist anymore. And so, but yeah, no, I'm very happy with the transformers. Yeah, definitely.
Would you guys be willing to do a factory build video of an amp like you did for the G4 pedal? Yeah, for the most part. The only issue right now is, to be honest, the amount of content that we already create. We don't have a proper we don't have a proper schedule and setup for delivering the amount of content that we are already creating here for you guys. So there's 4 interview videos that we've shot that haven't come out yet, or 5 of them that haven't shot. And there's, now that bands are touring, there's more and more of that happening. Like,
yeah,
every week somebody's through town that either knows us or we're friends with, and that we get a chance to sit down and have a beer with and chat with.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's definitely something that we can do, but we got to get back to getting our we've paused our regular marketing meetings since the summer because we've been so busy, and we got to get back to that and start talking about, okay, what are the things that we need to do? Can you scroll up just a little bit, Stobes? Okay, WRT. I don't know what WRT means. Revv amps is having the amp in standby for a while before and after use, essential to not damage the amp. He's always confused by what standby is for exactly in various tube amps.
No, it's cool. To be honest, you don't even need a standby switch. It's put there just because in the past, people felt as though if you fired up the amp and had the high voltage at the same time before the heaters were red hot and conducting, that it was deteriorating the cathodes, but it's not. The tubes are really resilient. They're durable and they can handle high voltage immediately. Most times I don't even use the standby. I'll flick the power and the standby on at the same time, just because I know it's not hurting anything. Standby switches are primarily there nowadays just because it's more of a vintage thing to do for tube amps. People kind of expect that a tube amp should have a standby switch, so we put them there. But another helpful thing with the standby switch is if you're going to be away from it for a while, you turn it off, it silences the tube amp, keeps the heaters hot. Like if you're at a gig and you set up and you're like, okay, we're the next band on, but not for 45 minutes, leave the power on, keep the standby off. That way it's silenced, your heaters are ready to go. The moment you're on stage, fire it up and off you go. Otherwise, no, you know what? Don't worry about the standby. It's on or off. You're good. You're good. Like I say, tubes are durable. Just use it the way you need it. If you need it to be silenced, turn the standby off. If you need it to be fired up and ready to go, leave it on. It's all good.
I found like back, in the like 90s and like late 90s and early 2000s, I would find that like you'd often, I'd have issues if I went to a gig and my amp was cold and I clicked both on like the early 2000 boogies. They would take like, not long, but like, a minute or two to warm up.
Yep. Too long.
And, what's that?
Too long in most
cases. Too long if it's your first song. Like if you set foot on stage and you've just hauled your stuff out of the
truck.
In
a
like
minus
it's out
30
of the van
Canadian.
in minus 30 and you set it on top, because there are gigs that we did where literally from the time that we got our stuff on stage to when we started playing, like we maybe had 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, like throw your pedal board down, plug your cables in, pull your guitar to the case, plug it in.
Oh yeah.
And away you go. So I always found it helpful, like that was always my first move, was get my head on top of my amp, get it plugged in, hit the power switch and let it be warming up while I plug my pedal board in and stuff.
Totally. Yeah. Don't worry too much about it. Standby, you just use it as you need it. I put a mute switch on the amps too, just because if you want to have your standby on, but you want it silenced, use the mute. If you want your standby off to do that work, use that. It's all good. But don't worry too much about damaging the amp like that. You won't. It's like I said earlier in the stream today, all our caps are over spec, all our components are over spec. Like it'll take a lot to kill this thing. You'd really have to inject it with a lot of voltage, over the top voltage. So you're good. Don't worry.
Ilmaris asked what my favorite G Series pedal was, and did he do a good job of choosing the G2? Absolutely. From the G Series pedals, my list goes G2, then G3, then G4 for what I would use. But and I mean, it wasn't included in what you guys could choose from. We did. We found a bunch of demo pedals from like old NAMM boards and Dallas Guitar Show boards and stuff like that that we decided to give. And actually, because of that, maybe we should give another one away tonight, because we found a decent number of them. So
awesome.
Let's. I gotta think of something that you guys have to answer a question in order to get it, and then I have to make sure Stobes is watching and I'm watching to make sure that. Last week we gave away 4 pedals because by the time I was like, oh, they got it, 4 people had answered the right thing, but we hadn't seen them.
Oh.
So yeah, the G2 is my favorite of the G Series pedals. Then next in line for the G2, or I shouldn't say next in line, my favorite pedal that we build is the Tilt. The boost side of the Tilt, especially, I just find with me playing this thing, right? Like that sounds good. That sounds better. So yeah. So if you don't have a Tilt, go on and get you a Tilt. I'll think of the cheesy slide. This is Dorian's guitar. I can't do the cheesy slide on here, and I think I ate all the cheesies that I have, so I have to get some more before I can do that.
first tube amp was 2012.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go with something completely different. Stoves. Yeah.
Robbie, no. You're wrong.
The answer is no pickguard. Yeah, Les Pauls with pickguards or no pickguards.
Yes, Kevin, you don't have to own a Revv product to be here. Welcome here, buddy.
Show you the tilt versus the mauler. I mean, that's not even like that's like comparing like apples and potatoes, man. Like it's like not even in the realm of like close.
Pretty radical.
Yeah. It's like I've got a Telecaster and then I've got a BC Rich, like no dice. Sorry, bud. So, man.
Wow, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for sticking around, guys. It's great.
We got to think of something that we can do to.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it could be something I talked about earlier in the stream. Let me think.
Man, it's got to. I should have thought about this before. The mauler versus the tilt is like a bear versus a carnival ride. Yeah, it's like an F-150 versus a Porsche. Like they're both great, but for different things, man.
Yeah. Can holders. Right on, BMO.
While you guys are thinking, thanks everybody for posting in the Revv Facebook community all of your guitars. It was a good time looking at them.
Yeah. Hey, Mitch. That's Luke for all of you that can't see him. Okay, Mitch and anyone else from Saskatchewan can answer this. That's a good one. What's the...
yeah, that is good.
What is a hoodie called in Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
And if you guys watched the 12 Days of Christmas video today, you guys will have seen that. The first person to answer that on here...
Yeah.
You know what? Forget it. It's Christmas time. We're going to give it to the first...
There it is.
First 3 people to answer it.
Yeah.
Dude. I don't think that Robbie Timms is disqualified because he didn't show up here for the first part of the stream. Showed up right at the tail end.
Yeah, it's the answer plus an hour and 30 minutes worth of watching the stream. Yeah.
All right. So.
And you need to smash the like and subscribe if you haven't and all that stuff.
Yeah. Follow us subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. I don't think we use Twitter.
All right, so you can still follow us there.
Find us on TikTok. We're probably not there yet, but soon enough we'll be there with the old reels. What else we got? Oh, sign up on Revv. Amplification.com for more updates on where Dan is sleeping and what he's doing. I don't know. Yeah, okay. So scroll up. I'm going to just pick one of the winners from here, guys. I'll pick 3 of you. All right. So Aaron Dorval. We'll go with Dave and Shred Durst. So you guys win. Send me an email, derek@revamps.com. You get your choice between G2, G3, G4 pedals. And, with how good I am at sending them out, it'll probably be next Wednesday before I actually get to sending them out. When you email me your name, your address, and your phone number, and Luke will visit your house.
And 5 times you have to email him.
No, that's okay. We can keep it to 1 there, mods. Stobes is going to put my email in here so that you guys can get it. Yes, I know a bunch of you probably got it. There will be consolation prizes some other time. You're an idiot, Stobes.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah, the bunny hug or the bunny hugger. Did you guys watch I'm curious, 2 things. How many of you guys have seen the winter test facility video? And how many of you saw the 12 Days of Christmas video with Luke and I? And I'd love to know honest opinions of who thinks it's funny when we do the ham up the whole Canadian thing and who thinks it's lame.
Bunny humper.
The bot number.
I think it's hilarious.
Because you were in it. Luke was laughing so hard when we went to when we went to do the first ones, we had to do like at least like 4 or 5 like dry run throughs before we could be mic'd up and running cameras, because I have to admit that I said a lot of different stuff in the first one that we couldn't put in a video.
You could see the smile on Luke's face the entire time.
Yeah.
He was still shell-shocked.
He was like falling off his chair giggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Good.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to those of you that won it. Bunny Humpers.
Oh, man,
Bunny
that's
Humpers.
awesome. That reminds you of Strange Brew. Hockey shirt, Michael. No. You can call it a tarp or you can call it a jersey, but don't you dare call it a shirt.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about like acrylic faceplates. We don't do them for the Mark IIIs. I don't think we ever will.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, you mean like a tarpaulin? Yeah.
Yeah, acrylic's sort of a thing of the past. Unfortunately.
Dorian's guitar is really nice. This is Dorian's 1991 Les Paul Custom. And it is, she's a beaut, bud. I like it.
I love the pick guard on it.
You know, the only reason this pickguard isn't terrible is because it's black and you can't really tell that it's there.
Yeah.
But it'd be totally fine if it wasn't there, you know? That's the deal, bud. You know? Bunny hump that like button, Stobes. That's what you want me to say?
Oh,
Danta Claus.
Danta
Yeah,
Claus.
so Danta Claus was actually sick when we went to shoot that video. That's
Yeah.
why Luke got called up
yeah.
from the minors last minute, you know?
Yeah, maybe I'll do it next year.
Put me in
I
coach.
wasn't feeling
Yeah.
so good on Monday or whatever.
He's
so
on the old farm team, and
I was out.
yeah,
I was
like-
like, put me in coach.
Yeah. I'm ready to play.
You can believe in me.
Can you give away some of those Revv tarps? Oh, we are giving away some of those Revv tarps.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
bud, all you got to do is enter the old 12 Days of Christmas. Just go follow the link, and if you paste the link and your friends click on it, you get 2 extra entries, bud. 2 extra entries for every one of your friends to click on that link.
2.
Just get them all to share that stuff, and you'll be just great. And, you know, got a chance of winning yourself a beauty tarp. Or maybe
There you
you
go.
guys didn't like the old Comeback Kid special, eh? Ooh.
Coach.
Yeah, that Coach jacket. Looking extra hard. Anyway, you guys have any other questions? It's been forever.
Yeah. Thanks for
Dan's
sticking
like-
around, though.
I'm tired. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff, eh?
We did.
Man, that was good. It's good. You guys basically seen all we got for this year. Anyway.
That amp sounds so awesome. Yeah. I need your name, your address, your phone number in the email, and which pedal you want, G2, 3, or 4. Meow.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh,
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
we got a question from
Yeah.
Luke.
Are we allowed to say what the live stream is next week?
Yeah. So next week, Sean's going to be here.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Sean and myself, and Jeff Schroeder from the Smashing Pumpkins is going to be chiming in remotely to talk about all things like professional touring / real guitar players. I'm just going to be there to make sure that I do dumb shit and say dumb shit. The 2 professionals who have actually played in real bands and toured all over the world will
Take care of the
talk
business.
about real things. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, guys, tune in for that. That'll
What's-
be our last one for the year, I think, eh?
No.
Oh, no.
No,
we got
that's before Christmas, and then we got the
the 12th day.
reveal.
Right,
On the
right.
28th.
Maybe we'll convince Dan to come out on the 28th and dress up as Danta Claus.
And hand out goodies?
Yeah, to hand out.
What do you guys say?
Yeah.
Should I do that? You want that? You want Danta Claus to make an appearance to hand
Yeah.
out your goodies?
Yeah, we do. That suit is so hot.
I could probably
like,
do that.
Heat hot. Like,
Yeah.
just wearing those hats in here, we were both like, oh man, it's
oh, yeah.
hot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be.
Oh, I got some boomer bends for you. Just wait. Somebody asked what our favorite Tolex combos are. Man,
Oh, yeah.
I like the pewter trout, but yeah, I don't know. There's been lots of cool ones.
Yeah, there has. I like this one here. What's this one?
Pewter trout.
Yeah, pewter trout.
Yeah.
The western one is already too.
What's that? What's the one that Asking Alexandria just got for the red? British garnet or something?
I forget.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Western white is one of my favorites, Anthony. Yes, Anthony had the Western black and white.
Yeah.
Daphne blue.
Those are pretty nice.
Daphne blue, Carolina blue.
Yeah, there's a lot of these.
The seafoam.
All right, so I think it's about that time, eh?
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, thanks guys. That was fun. It's good. That's not so good.
Do you like my vibrato?
No.
All right, I got nothing else. Thanks, everyone. It's
Yep.
Dan, thanks for making the time and coming to hang.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, maybe I'll come on the 28th and we'll hand out some gifts and
Yeah.
call it a year. But
Oh.
yeah, this was fun. Hope you guys had a lot of your questions answered. And yeah, it was fun. It was good. Enjoyed it.
I missed that for Sammy, so that's just for Sammy.
All right. That'll do her.
I got nothing else.
No.
Thanks, everyone.
See
Really
you guys.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
We'll see you all next week.
Merry Christmas.